Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Today we have Bruce Collins, Director of Product Management for the ePMP team, and we will be discussing new ePMP products. Hey, Bruce, how are you?
Very good. Thanks, Susie. So thanks, everybody, for joining today. We have some exciting new products to talk about. So we're going to go into a little bit of a deep dive on those three products. It'll be a little more product focused today. If you have questions on these products or anything to do with ePMP or even Cambium in general, please go ahead and put them in the chat window, and then we will take those as they come. And then this is being recorded, and we'll put it up on the website, so you can refer to this later if you need to get more information. So without any more prelude, we will get started. The three new products we're going to talk about today are, again, in the ePMP product portfolio. The first one is the ePMP 3000L, which is a target at lower density, smaller sector micropop applications. And we'll go into these in a lot more detail. But then we also have the Force 300 Connectorized subscriber module, really targeted for some flexible deployments. You might need higher gain dishes or different types of deployments. And then the Force 130 is a low-cost 802.11n areas, or where you have low ARPU, so some average revenue per user targets. This is a nice solution for that. So, and then we have some general updates on ePMP, how things are going with the ePMP 3000 in general. And like I said, we'll have plenty of time for questions. So the first one here is the ePMP 3000L. All of these new products we're talking about today are shipping now. Your channel partner or Cambium reseller should be receiving stock here within the next couple of weeks. We've shipped all of the initial product from the factory, and we continue to build more. So a lot of interest in these to start with, right out of the gate. The first product here, though, is the ePMP 3000L. This is an access point, and it's really targeting at, you think of this as a micropop application, or an area where you want to put up a full sector, but you know you're not going to have a large number of subscribers. It is a 802.11 AC Wave 2 technology, so it takes advantage of the latest standards that come along with the 802.11 migration. 600 megabits per second is the headline data rate, and so it really takes advantage of the 11 AC Wave 2. It does not do the MIMO support or the dynamic filtering, and I'll get into how this compares to an ePMP 2000 here in a moment. You can see it's connectorized, so it gives you the option of putting either putting this on a sector antenna or putting it on a horn antenna. And we have an example here of this RF Elements twist port adapter, which is available, like I said, from RF Elements, and makes for a nice compact deployment installation. It does support GPS synchronization. So one of the applications that you can see with this product is, if I put up a full tower of ePMP 3000, maybe a 4-sector deployment, but there are some areas out at the edge of that cell or network that I can't quite reach with the main ePMP 3000, I can install an ePMP 3000L out at the edge and treat it like a micropop and add additional subscribers out there where it might be a little more difficult to reach. Like I said, it's got GPS synchronization. This is an internal GPS receiver. There is a connector you can see on the bottom to connect an external puck. We do not include that in the box, but it is available as an optional accessory that you can buy if you decide you want to use that external GPS receiver. Most customers are quite satisfied and happy with the GPS receiver that's built into the device. It is IP67. That's the other new feature with this industrial design. It's really a new packaging for a Cambium portfolio and ePMP in specific. It is IP67, which means it's water and dust proof for that intrusion. So it's a very, very nice rugged package for even some more industrial type applications. Here's a couple of better pictures of the antenna options. So on the left is our standard 90-degree sector antenna at 5 gigahertz. You can see that it clips onto the back, just like the ePMP 1000 or 2000 do, and it's got that hood that covers the connectors. And then on the right, you can see sort of steps 1, 2, and 3 of connecting this to a horn antenna, where you connect the radio connects directly into that interface or that twist port, and then that twist port connects right onto the back of the horn. So it's all connectorized, very easy to connect, disconnect, and deploy. You can see it there with the pole mount bracket to put it onto a tower. Some important notes on ePMP 3000L to keep in mind as you start to plan your network around this. It does use a 30-volt PoE injector. So while the rest of the access points in the ePMP portfolio are using 56-volt injectors, this does use the 30-volt injector. So keep that in mind for planning purposes. It does not include the GPS receiver. I mentioned that. It does have that onboard receiver, but in a connector. If you want to have an external GPS, that puck on a tether, that's available, and there's the part number listed on the screen here. The current 3000L is limited to 32 subscribers. We may lift that limit in the future, but today it's capped at 32 subscribers via software. And again, given the applications that we're going after with the 3000L, that generally should not become a limitation. Of course, we have the full 3000, which goes up to 120 subscribers as well. And it does support backwards compatibility. So if you want to use the 3000L with existing Force 180, Force 190, or Force 200, or even elevated subscriber modules, you can certainly interoperate and use those devices with the 3000L. We get a number of questions around how does this compare to the ePMP 2000. So this table on the right here kind of gives that in a summary view. In both cases, they're 2x2 MIMO, but keep in mind the 3000L uses 802.11ac Wave 2, which means it supports the 256 QAM modulation. It supports that 80 megahertz channels. It does not support MU-MIMO, so that's important to note that to get MU-MIMO, you need to go to the full ePMP 3000. When we compare it to the ePMP 2000, that's an 802.11n based technology. It's also 2x2 MIMO. Very high performing. It does up to 120 subscribers. It has that built-in dynamic filtering and support for the uplink beam steering smart antenna. So you get more capacity for subscriber count and performance in these high interference environments from an ePMP 2000. And it is compatible with both 11N and 11AC subscribers if you use the forward compatibility, which we expect to release in later this quarter in the June timeframe. So that kind of gives you an idea of how to decide whether to deploy an ePMP 2000 or 3000L. The nice thing is the subscribers are compatible going backwards and forwards. It really comes down to, are you looking to start out right away with Wave 2 with that smaller package with the with a horn antenna or Micropop type application, or if you're looking for a full 4-sector deployment with dynamic filtering, good interference mitigation techniques, then you may want to consider the 2000. And of course, the 3000 is kind of the flagship within this portfolio. So you always have that option as well to go up to the full 3000. And we'll talk a bit more about 3000 here in a moment. So that's the 3000L. Let's talk about the next product, which is very similar. If you see the picture here, it looks almost exactly the same. The only real way to tell the difference is that this one does not have that connector at the bottom for an external GPS receiver. So this is a connectorized subscriber module, which means it does not have an integrated antenna, but has those 2 connectors at the top that allow you to interface with external dishes. If you want to go to a higher dish, if you want to do cabling between the radio and the antenna, we have some applications where customers want to separate the antenna from the radio for different reasons. And then, of course, you've got that RF Elements twist port adapter compatibility, which is over there on the right. This is also 11AC Wave 2. It's 5 gigahertz, and you can see the headline capacity there at 600 megabits per second. Same packaging as the 3000L IP67, so water and dust intrusion protection coming right from the design. And here's a little better picture of the connectorized subscriber module with a dish from RF Elements, and you can see it's really a two steps. You click the radio into the twist port adapter, and then the adapter twists right into the back of that dish, so you get a real easy connectivity, and you can mount this on a pole with that bracket you can see on the right. Driver module. Let me just pause here and see if there's questions have come in, because I'm going to shift gears and talk about the other product, which is a little bit different. So I think, let me just, looks like there are a few questions. So let me pop that open here real quick. There's a question about a cover on that GPS external connector. Today it is not included in the box, but we are investigating how to get that included. So I would expect that'll come down the road. But these are pretty readily available to just screw onto that SMA to seal that up. There's a question around which horns can we connect this with, and the specific question is a 10 dB horn or a 20 dB horn. As long as you stay with those two are certainly usable with this. It will depend on the regulatory region that you're in, whether this you exceed the ARP limits or not. So that's where you have to just keep an eye on what the local country regulatory. But from a technology standpoint, either of those dishes would be fine. The 3000L uses, there's a question here about the power. This uses the same power injector that's used with the ePMP subscriber modules. So I think that answered the question. If it's not, it'll, I may have to look at this offline a bit, but there's what is the DC input voltage range? I know it goes up to 30 volts. I believe it'll drop down to about 24 volts. But it is that ePMP polarity that's used on this. And then there's a question around 5 and 10 megahertz channels. Today we do not have a 5 or 10 megahertz channel subscriber module that works in the 11AC standard, but we do expect to introduce one later this year. And when that is introduced, it will interoperate with the ePMP 3000. We're still investigating whether that will work with the 3000L. So that's a good question. I can follow that up, and I'll post the response to that one on the community later today. Okay. So let's shift gears and talk about the Force 130, which is the other new product. This is a 802.11n subscriber module. It is available in the 5 gigahertz and also 2.4 gigahertz models. It's important to note that this is not available in North America. So US and Canada this is not allowed in those regions, but it is available in the other regions, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and EMEA. With 5 gigahertz model, it includes a 14 dBi patch, and the 2.4 is it's the same packaging. It's a slightly smaller patch, so it's a 12 dBi patch. The 5 gigahertz product is shipping now, and the 2.4 we expect to have available and shipping here this quarter. And again, this is really it's a little bit. You can see it's a little bit lower gain patch antenna. That's really targeted at those regions or wireless ISPs that are competing for very low ARPU and low average revenue per user type of applications. But the nice thing is it is compatible going forward with the ePMP 3000. We're using backwards compatibility, and it also clearly interoperates with the 1000 and 2000. So you can get a really a nice low-cost packaging of a ePMP 1000 with the Force 130, and that's of course available both in 5 gig and 2.4. A couple of things important to note on the Force 130. It is not available in North America. I mentioned that again, just to be clear. It does not have FCC or the equivalent of Industry Canada approval, so it's not available to ship in the US or Canada, so I just want to emphasize that. The rest of world model is shipping now. The EU model, we're going through final testing on DFS and the final safety testing, so we're expecting that to ship late June and be out in the market early third quarter. So you can check with your reseller and get access to that out in Q3 for the EU model. For the rest of the world model, those units are out there in the market now. The last thing on here, which is an important point, and I know there's some questions before on power. This one actually uses a standard 24-volt PoE injector, so it's not compatible with the other ePMP power injectors. So important to note. It's unfortunate, but in order to keep the cost much lower, we went with a standard PoE 24-volt injector. So that's the new products. Let me see if there's any questions on that. The only question I see is really related to that compatibility, which I think I covered here on this slide with the interoperability with the 1000 and the 2000, and then with the backwards compatibility mode, it'll also interoperate with the 3000 with the 3000L. So that's the new products. If you have questions about it, you can put it on the community. Like I said, I'll answer those questions. That question I need to look up. I will post that on the community later this afternoon. And if you have other questions about them, you can go to our website and get spec sheets. I will touch a little bit more on the ePMP 3000 and some of the other things that we have cooking. The 3000 is a product that is really the flagship access point in the product that started shipping back in December. We have several thousand of these now in the market, and we're seeing very good results. Customers are quite happy with the performance they're seeing. This is a 802.11ac Wave 2, so really is the latest generation 11AC product on the market. So don't get this confused with some of the other companies out there selling AC Gen 2. Those are really the older technology. What you really want is this Wave 2 performance, because it really gives you three things that improve the longevity of the product and the performance. It gives you 4x4 MU-MIMO. That means you can talk to two different subscribers at the exact same time. So you're doubling your capacity even in the presence of interferers or noise. You can actually talk to two subscribers at a lower modulation and actually exceed the performance you would get from a single subscriber on a more typical 2x2 or other type of device. It gives you wider channels, so those customers that do want to explore 80 megahertz channel operation, it supports that. And then the higher modulation 256 QAM. We're seeing quite a few customers based on the initial feedback from beta sites and customer reports. We're seeing quite a few subscriber modules hit that 256 QAM. And the nice thing is, even if only a few of your subscribers are at 256 QAM, it still makes the whole sector operate more efficiently. So even if you're only, say, 5 or 10% of your devices are running at that higher modulation, it does release some of that airtime for other subscribers and makes the whole system run more efficiently. So there is some real value there in this Wave 2 technology. The 3000 extends and builds on the previous generations of the ePMP 1000 and 2000. So if you've been with the ePMP product for a long time, you'll recognize that we introduced synchronization with the 1000, which was really all about self-interference and allowing frequency reuse and force sector deployment, lots of scalability. Then with the 2000, we introduced the dynamic filtering and uplink beam steering, which was really around adjacent sources of noise and preventing the impact of those types of other sources of noise, and all of that's been added to the 3000. And then when you add MUMIMO, which allows you to talk to 2 different subscribers at the same time, possibly even at a lower modulation, your performance overall gets better. So we continue to extend that lead in scalability and interference tolerance. And then the third key piece here is the investment protection, and this is really important for your wireless ISP as you think about where you're going to go in the future. With the 3000, you get compatibility, backwards compatibility with the 802.11n devices in your network. So whether that's an ePMP Force 180, 190, or 200, or maybe you've taken advantage of the Elevate program and you elevated some of the competing products operate with ePMP. Those will interoperate with that 3000, so you can bring those forward to the latest 11AC technology. And the nice thing is where the standards are going, and as 802.11ax and Y6 comes out over the next couple of years, you're going to be able to take this the MUMIMO techniques and migrate those forward to the next generation as well. So you're on a nice path if you get onto this 11AC Wave 2. If you are looking at some of the competing technologies out there that are either stuck on Gen 2 or Wave 1, or perhaps looking at some proprietary approaches, that is not going to give you that forward migration into the future and that investment protection. So keep all that in mind. And then finally, we also are offering, since last October, a 3-year warranty on all ePMP products. So all the products I introduced today, the 3000L, the Force 300 CSM, and the Force 130 all come with a 3-year warranty. And you can get support direct from Cambium through our support organization, and of course also our community forum, which you can get quick feedback from there as well. So lots of opportunity for support and getting feedback on the products. I want to touch briefly on Elevate. Elevate is, for those that are new, Elevate is the program that allows you to take certain 802.11 devices that you might have in your network and upgrade them through a software upgrade plus a license key at the access point, and migrate them to all of the things that the benefits and features and capabilities that you get with ePMP. So if you go to our website on support.cambiumnetworks.com, you'll see the list of different devices that can be elevated. We continue to elevate lots of devices. In fact, I think Q1 here that we just finished up at the end of March was about the biggest quarter as far as the number of devices that were elevated. So that continues to be a very promising approach and valued approach as customers migrate to the latest technology. A little more detail, you can buy that license key directly from your Cambium reseller. That includes either you can get the 1 subscriber or 10-pack. We did lower the price of this back in October. And then each access point that you purchase will automatically qualifies for 15 free Elevate licenses. So if you buy an ePMP 1000, 2000, 3000, or 3000L, you'll be able to get 15 Elevate licenses. So if you have, you see the picture there, if you have 15 of these Ubiquity devices in your network, you can upgrade those, elevate them, and then you get 15 licenses right out of the gate with each access point you purchase. Compatibility, there's lots of questions about compatibility. Where we are right now is that backwards compatibility is released on the access point. It's in final beta on the subscriber module. We have a release candidate. We expect to do that full formal release by the end of this month. And what backwards compatibility does is allows an ePMP 3000 or 3000L to interoperate with a 11N or 802.11n subscriber module. So if you put an ePMP 3000 on your tower, you can talk to certainly the Force 300 subscriber modules, which are 11AC Wave 2, but you can also in backwards compatibility talk to the Force 180, 190, or 200. We also talk about, and so I mentioned the availability on that. We also have this forward compatibility mode, and that's where you see in the picture here an ePMP 1000 or 2000 access point on the tower. and it can actually interoperate with the newer subscriber modules. So if you have a ePMP 2000 on your tower and you want to start that migration path towards 11AC Wave 2, you can start to deploy Force 325s or Force 316s and interoperate. And then eventually, if you want to upgrade your access point to the ePMP 3000, you'll continue that compatibility. That forward compatibility feature, we're expecting to go into beta testing, open beta. We have some limited beta going on right now, but we'll expect to go to open beta at the end of this month, and then official general release by the end of June. So I know that some of you are quite familiar with ePMP and others are new to the platform. So when we talk about all these acronyms and numbers and product names, I think it's helpful to spend just a minute on how does the new products fit into the portfolio. So here you can see that we have 4 different access points in the portfolio. We have the ePMP 3000 that we've been talking about. We have the 3000L, which were just introduced last week. Those are both 11AC Wave 2, so the latest generation technology on 802.11 roadmap. We have the ePMP 2000, which is 802.11n. This does include that dynamic filtering and optional uplink beam steering. And then we have our first generation product, ePMP 1000, certainly still available and shipping. We ship quite a lot of these. It's available in 5 gig, but it's also available in 2.4, 2.5, and 6.4 gigahertz. So a number of different bands available for that product. And that's also 11N. On the subscriber module side, there's really 2 portfolios. There's one which is 11AC Wave 2, and then we'll also talk about the 11N portfolio. But in the 11AC Wave 2, you can see the Force 325, which is that dish, the Force 316, which is the integrated panel with that horizontal orientation, which really helps with reducing interference or the impacts of interference. And then the Connectorized subscriber module, which we introduced today. And then just as a sneak peek or preview, we will be introducing a couple of new additional 11AC subscriber modules. So keep an eye out for announcements coming sort of in the next 90 days on yet additional subscriber modules coming in the portfolio. So the team continues to crank out new products and at a great rate. And so it's really an exciting time for this portfolio because there's a lot of new features and products coming. On the 11N side, you can see the breadth of the portfolio, and the new one that we just introduced here is the Force 130, Force 200, 190, 180, all in 5 gigahertz. And then we have the Connectorized subscriber module in 11N. And then we also, a lot of people lose track of this, or if you still have a 2.4 gigahertz network, certainly that integrated 2.4 gigahertz subscriber module is a nice solution for those that are deploying in 2.4 gigahertz. And then on the antenna side, there's 4 antenna options. The uplink beam steering is an optional antenna for the 3000 and the 2000. We have the MIMO 4x4 sector antenna that's used with the ePMP 3000. And then the sector antenna, which is compatible with the 1000, the 2000, and now, as I showed before, also with the 3000L. So I wanted to kind of close with 2 frequently asked questions that we get quite a bit. There's a lot of words on this slide, so I'll leave it up here. Those that want to read through it. But we do get questions around what's happening with 802.11ax or Y6. You start to hear announcements around indoor access points for Wi-Fi. You'll hear a lot of press from the Wi-Fi Alliance on Y6. So really, where we stand with ePMP and the real promise that this offers is that we currently have the latest technology with ePMP, which is 11AC Wave 2. 11AX is going to bring some new capabilities. It's going to bring even more MU-MIMO, so higher order MU-MIMO. It's going to bring uplink MU-MIMO, higher modulations. So in general, that's where things are going to go out over the next, 2 to 3 years. We'll see that that start to emerge as the technology matures and becomes suitable for outdoors. The nice thing, though, is that if you're deploying ePMP today, you can take advantage of MU-MIMO right away. And all the subscriber modules that you deploy today based on the Force 300 are MU-MIMO compatible, and they'll be MU-MIMO compatible with the 11AX as those products start to roll out as well. So you can roll out your SMs now, get your MU-MIMO performance, and know that you have this forward migration path into the future. And then the new 11AX products, when they emerge, will support backwards compatibility, not only with the 11AC Wave 2 devices supporting MU-MIMO, but will also support backwards compatibility even to the 802.11n environment. Now, eventually you're going to want to start migrating those 11n subscribers to later generations, but you know that you don't have to do that in a forklift fashion. You have this kind of elegant migration forward. So lots of exciting things coming. So keep an eye on that space, but know that you're protected when you deploy an ePMP 3000 and Force 300 subscriber modules as you move forward. And the other question we get a lot about is how does ePMP product compare to this pre-announced product from Ubiquiti called LTU? So we get a lot of questions. Well, how does ePMP 3000 compare? For one thing, no one has really seen an LTU product because it's still in beta, and actually there hasn't been any updates to that beta firmware in about 9 months. So it's not exactly clear where that product's going, but nevertheless, we get a lot of questions about it. Really what Cambium focuses on is performance with MU-MIMO, 11AC Wave 2, the scalability with the proven synchronization, and then the backwards and forwards compatibility to help the WISP or wireless ISP able to migrate or in a cost-efficient and elegant fashion move forward to the latest standards, including as 11AX eventually comes along. And really, LTU is a proprietary approach that doesn't offer this migration either backwards or forwards. So it's really kind of a separate sort of a fork off the mainstream of what's happening with 802.11. So what you really want to focus on or ask yourself is, what is the migration path into the future? What can I do to bring my current network into the future? And which one really offers the best solution going forward? So some stuff to think about as the long-term evolution or long-term migration of this roadmap continues to roll out. So let me see if there's any questions. Of course, you can always post them on the forum, the community. So I'll open up the question box here. Yeah, there's a few here. So there's a question about will Cambium support an Omni antenna on the 4x4 MU-MIMO ePMP 3000? So we are looking into this. We're looking into a couple of options here, both an Omni antenna. We haven't announced one yet, but keep an eye on this space. And then the other option that we're looking at is some narrower beam sectors, whether it's think of it as like a 45-degree sector, which kind of goes opposite of what you're asking with Omni. But think of it about the ability to focus all of the energy and capacity into a narrower sector so you can pack more subscribers into a denser area. Then we're also looking at some horn antennas that will support 4x4 MU-MIMO, so the ability to use a horn antenna in a 4x4 fashion. So keep an eye out for those as well. There's a frequency reuse question. So really, if the ePMP 3000, the recommendation is AB or 2-channel reuse in a 4-sector deployment. So that's really the recommended channel planning. ePMP 3000 is now in the Link Planner tool from Cambium. So with Link Planner, you can go and put in your towers, put in your subscriber modules, and get a good understanding of what the capacity and the availability of all those links are going to be. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions. There was a couple on here that I will respond on the community as I promised, and so keep an eye out there later today. And with that, I really appreciate everybody joining, and look forward to talking to you at a future webinar. Thanks. Bye.